So Elden Ring finally dropped their official gameplay reveal trailer for the DLC Shadow of the Erdtree. And I kind of just wanted to talk about it and give my impressions on it. Now I will just flat out say that I've never beaten a FromSoft game, like ever. I've never beaten one. Personally, I don't really enjoy playing them too much, but I absolutely love watching other people play them. And I know the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC has been something that Elden Ring fans have just been waiting for a really long time. If I remember correctly, I believe this was announced like a year ago, and after watching through the trailer, it looks like this is a hefty DLC. It's not just a couple of bosses here and there, maybe a small new little section of the map. It looks like it could be its own game entirely. We get to see a bunch of different glimpses at what I'm assuming is a bunch of different bosses, and I just gotta say, something that I love that FromSoft does is their boss design, their character design. Like, how many other games are making this weird, disgusting leech person monster thing that sucks you off in the middle of the game? Like, the creativity that they have in their character design over at From Software is just amazing. It's incredible. I did also want to go over some extra details that I have found out about the game from other people over on Twitter, other creators here on YouTube, and I wanted to kind of try to compile a lot of that information together, so that way you guys could get all of the information, or at least most of the information, in one place. So what we know so far is that the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC is the largest expansion that From Software has ever done. You'll be guided by Miquella, enter the Land of Shadow, which is a completely new world from the lands between. There'll be seamless travel back and forth between the Land of Shadow's vast maps. In the Land of Shadows is where you're going to meet others who follow in Miquella's footsteps. There's new weapons, skills, and magic that's exclusive to the DLC. There's a new storyline, new bosses, dungeons, you know, the typical thing that you would expect with a DLC. Apparently the surface area will also be larger than Limgrave, which from my very limited playtime in Elden Ring, if I remember correctly, Limgrave is like the beginning area and it's pretty big. There's over 10 new boss fights, 8 new weapon categories. The structure is similar to the base game with vast fields, legacy dungeons, and smaller dungeons. The difficulty will be similar to the in-game of Elden Ring, and there's bosses that are equal in difficulty to Malenia. Now, I personally never got to the point of fighting Malenia, but I have seen so many other people absolutely lose their minds to this boss fight, and the fact that they say that there are bosses that are equal to it, like multiple, I can only imagine how hard this DLC is actually going to be. Apparently there's also a poison swamp that's confirmed. Some extra info that we got was apparently Shadow of the Erdtree development started after the base game was released, which means that this DLC has had about like 2-ish years to be worked on. The DLC is not set in the distant past or future, but it's apparently in the same timeline as the base game. So I'm assuming story-wise, a lot of the stuff that happens in the base game, whatever is happening in this DLC is also going on at the same time. Mesmer is the character in the key art. Apparently he's on the same level as Godric and Malenia, which I'm assuming Mesmer is going to be like the main boss of this DLC. Some of the 8 new weapon classes are a Japanese greatsword, monk-style hand-to-hand combat, fully thrown weapons, and more. No, honestly, I wasn't expecting all these new combat systems to be thrown into this DLC. That's really surprising to me. And apparently there's also some sort of new level up mechanic in the DLC that's similar to attack power in Sekiro, which I've actually never played Sekiro, and I don't know much of anything about that game. So maybe you guys in the comments can kind of explain to me what exactly that means or what that is. The DLC is currently scheduled to release on June 21st, which is 4 months away now. So we do gotta wait a little bit for this DLC, but it also doesn't seem like it's going to be just a DLC. It feels like it's going to be much more of like an entirely new game. And even though I don't really play that many FromSoft games, as someone who really enjoys just watching it, I'm super excited for this. I'm interested to know what your guys' thoughts are on the Elden Ring DLC. What are your hopes and expectations for it? From what we've seen so far, this DLC looks really good, and I'm really excited to see its release. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are down in the comments, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more gaming news like this.